Hello everyone, Lord Daimyo here, and this will be my review for Candy Flurry Manga Chapter 16. So, let's just jump into it. This chapter seemed a little light, but we did get some pretty good, some backstory and some lore, and a really cool twist at the very end. So, we start off with Tsumugi coming to the rescue of Irie to attack the villains. And the gummy user notices the white stick and says, "Hey, you're the one that jabbed me from the ceiling." But as soon as he notices, Tsumugi hits him and seemingly defeats him with her lollipop. So she's like, "Yeah, that's right." And he's like, "Oh, not any remorse," which is hilarious. So then, Tsumugi starts talking to Irie and says, "How'd you know I wouldn't run away?" Irie says, "It'd be nice if you were around." And she's like, "You're here, this is great." And this is really good because Irie, initially when she found out about Tsumugi, was trying to capture her. But then when Misaki said, "Hey, no, don't, I trust her," Irie says, "Okay, well, I won't capture her, but I don't trust her, and she has to join the reset." So it was always that not trusting of Tsumugi that Irie had. But this all starts to change because Tsumugi says that she's sorry for just watching Irie getting beat up, and said that if she came out to help, she was afraid people would see her true identity as the lollipop user. And Irie calls Tsumugi Tsumiji? Yeah, Tsumiji, which means like a hair whirl, I guess. So it's just a fun Japanese pun, saying that she's got some sort of hair something. And it's throwing comedy into this chapter, which is great. And Irie says it's normal to not want people to hate you, but you always suppress those feelings while using your powers for others, and that's amazing. Everyone will understand that you're a kind person, I'm sure of it. Which is true, because while Tsumugi's one of her main character flaws is being selfish, which this is part of it, her selfishness of not wanting to look bad or not wanting people to find out who she is, at first hinders her from doing things like helping people, but then she overcomes that flaw. She actively says, "Hey, this is an issue I have, and look, I'm initially going back on my old habits, and I'm saying no, I need to be better." And she changes it. She goes out and helps. She puts that umbrella under that little pig dog. She goes back to help Misaki. She's been doing all this stuff. So she helped out Uminai. No, Umino, whatever his name is. Which, by the way, he needs to come in. The son of the head of the reset. We only saw him for the little training thing. He needs to come back. Anyways, so it seems like Irie and Tsumugi are getting along, becoming friends, which is awesome. And then the gum user says, "Hey, shouldn't we just attack them? Their guard's down." And the gum user says, "Hey, no, wait, isn't that rude?" And the gum user's like, "Wait, we were okay to take hostages, but not to attack them now?" And even the cookie user's like, "Yeah, no, he's right. We shouldn't attack. That's rude." So, after tears in her eyes, Tsumugi has tears in her eyes from talking with Irie. Says, "Okay, I'm ready to fight." Irie says, "Thanks for waiting." The gummy user says, "Sure thing." So, it's a 2-on-3 battle. And we get a really cool picture of Irie with ice and ice cream behind her, and Tsumugi with a huge lollipop getting ready to fight. And then, as soon as they're about to fight, we get a flashback, which is very important. We see some little kids, all in the same clothes, in a hallway, talking about getting shots. And this looks like the gum user. We see the gummy user and the popcorn user. And the popcorn user saying, "Hey, look, now I can make these pebbles come out of my body." And the gum user's like, hey, that's not cool. And he's like, yeah, they are. And they say, when are these toy candy experiments going to end? And the popcorn user says, when this is over, I'm going to use my powers to beat up bad guys. And I'm done with these boring clothes because they're all wearing the same clothes. And he said, I'm going to make my own clothes. And the gummy user's like, oh, that's cool. And then the gum user looks over, because this is the gum user's flashback. And he sees just a kid sitting there by himself. And the kid looks like the evil lollipop user. And says, how about you, Amato? Asking like what he's going to do when they get out of here. And he says, and we don't ever get to see what he says. So then we see scientists watching all these kids, saying that the government's going to be checking out the facilities, they're going to get the research shut down, they're really close to finishing the candy, the government will have to recognize their technology once they come and visit and see how awesome they're doing. It doesn't matter if one or two test subjects die, strengthening the treatment, ignoring the side effects, finish developing the toy candy is their main focus. So it looks like originally the toy candy was a malicious sort of experiment that they forced these kids to do. We don't see Tsumugi or Irie or any of these other non-villainous kids here, so maybe it looks like these were the first ones that got experimented on, and then maybe later they released some out into the public that could have been stronger, and maybe that's why EDA and Tsumugi are winning so easy, because the villains have a weaker form. Who knows? We then come back to the present from the flashback, and we see that the gummy, and cookie user are all tied up, and they've been defeated. And the gum user, comes back from being unconscious, so this was a flashback in his mind that he had while he was unconscious. So the gum user says, what's going to happen to us now? And the gum user says, Amato will save us again. And said, same as last time, and it shows Tokyo with the giant lollipops, Tokyo being destroyed. So it looks like the toy factory maybe was in Tokyo. Amato escaped, and to save his new friends that he had made in there, he destroyed all of Tokyo. Who knows? Super excited for this. Anyways, Aminai shows up. He's one of the head leaders, big honchos of the Reset. So Aminai shows up and says, okay, we're here to arrest the 4 candy users. And EDA's like, don't you mean 3? There was gummy, and cookie. And Aminai says, and the lollipop user makes 4. So, how he knew, we don't know. Maybe he just saw it. So EDA says, I see. So the deal has changed. And she pulls out her Reset weapon and heads towards Aminai and the other Reset agents. And Aminai says, should I take this as rebellion against the Reset? EDA says, depends on your interpretation. And then Aminai says, then make that 5. So, this was a fantastic. At first, the first half of it, not great. The last half, amazing. We found out the villainous lollipop user's name, Amato, and that those kids were experimented on with the toy candy, and that Aminai and the rest of the Reset know that Tsumugi is a lollipop user, and that her and EDA are now such good friends that EDA is willing to get arrested and taken off the Reset force and attack Aminai. So let's do a little theorizing and predicting on what's going to happen in the next several chapters. So I always thought the story would go along the lines of Tsumugi being secret and going into the Reset and it would be like a group of 4 of Tsumugi, Irie, Misaki, and Umino, just doing missions while getting closer and closer to discovering Amato. However, I still even thought this up until this chapter, because I said, well, they fought the popcorn user and the gum user really, really soon. I said, but that's fine. We could have some more missions and them slowly fight them. But then the direct next thing is they fight the gummy, and cookie user, which I'm like, okay, this is going pretty fast. But now that they're defeated and possibly arrested, then we could still get, it would speed everything up, but we could still get the popcorn user, all the other people coming to fight them, and maybe even Amato saving his friends, and then them having to do it over again, like do more missions. However, now that the Reset know that Tsumugi's the lollipop user and that EDA is defying the Reset, it could always just be a thing where Amina is like, oh, okay, well, we know she's not Amato, and so we're all good. But what if the story goes along where Tsumugi and EDA and the villains get captured and arrested, and then Amato destroys the Reset agency, freeing his friends, the villains, and inadvertently freeing Tsumugi and EDA. Then Tsumugi and EDA get together with Misaki and maybe even Umino, and they all are in a group where they're not only running from the Reset, but they are also still fighting villains and trying to find out Amato. So the possibilities for this, or it could just be something different, but the possibilities after this chapter seem amazing, and I just cannot wait to read more. This is one of the best series in Jump right now. And if you think so, let me know in the comments or just anything. You can also follow me on Twitter if you want. Link is in the description. I follow everyone back. But thank you very much for watching, and have a fantastic day.